Hey everybody, appreciate you watching. In this video, I'm going to be covering the Sigil-Lock build that I've come up with for the Warlock class in Season 14 of Diablo 4. I first started this in Season 13 on the Paladin class, actually, migrating into the Oridin build for that. Had a lot of fun using all three of those, and knowing that the Paladin was the light opposite, the Warlock being the dark, so to speak. And they had similar skill trees as well. So in this, we're using the sigils instead of the auras. I'm going to be using all three of them as well. It was a big surprise, let's put it that way. A lot of fun, a lot of high damage output. Again, I'm no expert at this. I know there's a lot more talented people in theory crafting than I. I might have things misconstrued and misunderstood as far as the mechanics of things, but it seems to be working out for somebody even like me. But it's a different take on what I normally do, I know, in the studio arts and the digital arts and graphic design and all that. But I've been a gamer for a long time and really love Diablo. I've been playing since Diablo 3, and now we're into Diablo 4, and I like the way things are going for it. I wasn't around for Diablo 2. It's just I didn't have the PC for that at the time, but fell in love with Diablo 3 when it came out, as it was. But really love this game and games like it, where you come up with your own builds, you know, theory crafting and stuff like that. It's just a lot of fun for me. So take that to heart when you're seeing what I'm putting forth. This is going to be a very long video, I know, but I'm going to go in depth, at least from just my perspective of why I'm going about this build the way I'm going about it. If you got anything like that you could comment on it, tips, hints, anything like that, feel free to do so. And on that note as well, give me a like or a follow if you like this, because I hope to do this type of content as well. Like I said, I'm just a gamer at heart and really like putting this type of content out as well. So anyway, let me stop rambling, because I'll do that a lot. But let's get into the build anyway, so you can know what I'm talking about. Okay, let's start off the skill tree here. We're going to have a Molten Bomb. That's the first one. It's a Hellfire skill initially. Basically, it's going to change into a Demonology, Summon, and Lesser Demon skill. That's important. This is for Wrath generation. That's your primary resource you'll be using. It just lobs Molten Lava at the enemy, but we're going to change it into that Lesser Demon and Demonology skill by coming to Demon Turret. That makes it the Demonology Summon skill. You lob out a turret like a little minion. It's stationary, stays in place, and then lobs out the lava bombs. And the damage it accrues is area bonus. Impact area is increased by 30%, and it does 30% times increased damage to enemies at its center. So that plus ranged damage. Now it's dealing 40% times increased damage based on how far it travels. So now you're up to 70% right there. It does have a good distance. It's not like tremendous, but a good distance where you'll start killing things or hitting things at least off screen. Sometimes you won't see it. So keep in mind that that 40% varies based on how far it travels, but it can travel a good way. So a nice high damage additive for that. Next down, we go to the Dreadclaws, Warlock favorite Demonology and Abyss skill. Shadowy Claws come out, 4 of them. Normally, this is in the direction you're facing, and it comes out forward direction, path. We're going to change that, however, to Enveloping Terror to make it cast around you. You'll get that in gear and Paragon and stuff like that, but you do assume a stack of Shadow Form. Don't worry about it. You get some later in this skill tree even. It does cast around your last Greater Demon summon, so that's also later in the skill tree, but you will have some leveling, so keep that in mind. It's sort of keeping things in theme. We're going to come up here to damage as well. 20% times increased damage for your next Dreadclaws up to 100% times. And that's nice because it's progressional, so every time you press, you get more damage increases. We're going to keep that up with Ambush, 50% times increased damage with the first claw strike against each enemy. Now, don't worry about the stealth aspects. This is just for clearing out the trash mobs and things like that, the initial impact or the high hits later on. But very nice for the ambush or the Dreadclaws. Down here, we're going to come to the defensive skills. You'll see I've got nothing down here. Leveling, however, you might want to just go to Tortured Wretch. It's a demonology summon, Greater Demon as well, but this is for taunting enemies and whatnot. And you can do some damage when you go off on the trees as you're leveling up and open them up. But you won't need this later. It's just to keep in the same theme. So your gear items, normally they change a lot and you're sort of not able to stick with a certain builds. You got to sort of switch back and forth. This will just help you maintain the theme, so to speak, plus get up to the higher levels as well. Down here, Archfiend, same thing, nothing in here. Same as the Tortured Wretch, Profane Sentinel, that keeps you within the theme. Demonology, Abyss, Summons, all of that. So that'll get you to the upper levels. Also Infernal Breath. You're in the Hellfire skills now, so all three of those are keeping in play. Tyrant's Grasp, the same thing, just to keep the gear swappage and stay on theme with this build. Until you get to the heart of the matter, the Sigils. And these open up pretty much the trees individually, so you're going to have to progress even further to open them all, but think of these little icons right here as the sigils themselves, the little circles you'll put on the floor. This is Sigil of Summons. It's a demonology summon and lesser demon skill as well. And an abyss skill now. Keep that in mind. This is to basically get kills within the sigils. So this little square icon, think of it as the sigil. You have to get kills in that center. You see right there it says killing 15 enemies or demons, fuels it so that you can get your summons. You're going to do damage just by the sigil itself, but you're going to come over here to summon Succubus. This one is the one you want. It summons 2 dark succubi. They fire abyssal blood stars. They deal an incredible amount of damage and cause enemies to take an even more incredible amount of damage when they try to attack. Now, these, you'll see on this, it says 12 kills here. That's where you'll start out as, actually, in the sigil itself. I know it says 15, but you start out at 12. You don't get both of them at once, so you got to get 12 kills. You get 1 succubi. 12 more kills, you get the second succubi. So keep that in mind. But how does it change from this 12 over here to the sigil saying 15? Well, that's here. Stronger summons. This is more for a late game to end game skill that you're going to select. The 25% times increased damage, yes, but it's 25% more kills per summon. So that's why you're from the 12, you're jumping up to the 15 to get them. You normally, and just even leveling, you're wanting to get the Dark Succubi minions out early. It'll help you with everything. Stick with the cooldown. It just reduces the cooldown of it when the greater demons die and whatnot. But that way you're more easily going to get your kill count of 12. It sounds silly, 2 more kills, but oftentimes you're in dungeons and things, you're not going to get that full 15 or when you try and utilize it. So start with the cooldown one first, then sort of later, then go to the stronger summons as you get better gear and all that. So up here, though, we're going to have just another damage. This is where the enemies take 25% times increased damage from your lesser demon skills. Well, what's a lesser demon skill? Hey, it's Sigil of Summons. It's a lesser demon. Your Dark Succubi that come out, they're a lesser demon. There's also, oh yeah, Molten Bomb. That's a lesser demon. So it's additive to all of those. It's staying within the theme of the build overall. It's very nice for additive damage, to say the least. Next, let's go to Sigil of Chaos. It's an occult hellfire skill, but we're mainly using it for the volatility that you get. The killing the demons within, there's really no kill count to it. It's just going to keep adding the volatility for you. That increases your damage and whatnot. Also, when the enemies finally die, they explode for that amount of damage that you see on death. How do we get that even higher and whatnot? Diabolic Rebuke. This is while you're within the sigil, you and your summons deal, in my case, 3+ million damage to enemies when attacked. Now, think of this. You and your summons deal that. That's your Dark Succubi and your Molten Bomb. So again, we're keeping it all in tune here. Adding to this, we're going to go to Volatility Duration. This is nice because a lot of times you have to leave the sigil, or for some reason you get knocked out, or for whatever purpose or reason, you get to keep the volatility because it lasts 10 seconds after you leave the area. So it's nice to continue that forward. Definitely a nice addition. Downward we go to Chain Reaction. This is also another later towards end game build. Hitting an enemy within the Sigil of Chaos, 20% chance to trigger the effect on them again. To put it this way, the sigil itself deals damage based on rewards. Now, if you hit this again, it's going to deal that damage out. You don't have to stand within or whatnot. It's the sigil itself in this respect. Like I say, this is more late game, end game, but you might want to go to Volatility Casts. That way, the volatility empowered cast within the sigil, it counts for 3 kills. It reduces that kill count to get that high-powered volatility. And again, like I said, you build up the volatility in, and then once you unleash it again, it hits it with all that volatility. So it's a nice sigil for sure. Tack onto that as well, we've got Sigil of Subversion. It's an occult Hellfire skill. It doesn't start that way. But you do have to get 8 kills within this to fuel the ritual. And what's going to happen is this also grants you that 1 stack of Shadow Form, by the way. So that's where you sort of make up for any losses earlier. But you get the 8 kills within the sigil. And like I said, this square that I'm hovering over is the sigil. It makes these little trails, like these little branches that come out of it. You can have up to 3 of them. But you're going to start here, and they're going to be Seekers. And basically, it's going to teleport non-boss enemies back to the ritual area. So it sort of traps them, just like other classes. It pulls them in. A lot of times these trails go off screen. You can't even see it. And all of a sudden, these demons appear in the sigil right next to you. Where did they come from? They just happen to be walking in the background. You don't see them. That's where they wind up. Now, we're going to change that, however, to Sigil of Lava. And this is where it becomes a Hellfire skill, and it creates lava trails that periodically deal, in my case, 400,000 plus damage. Enemies that die within the trails have 25% chance to be charred into brimstones, which, when they explode, in my case, deals 4 million plus in damage. So, very nice little add-on. 25% doesn't sound like a lot, but it acquires pretty easily, actually. Now, you're not going to be worrying about these later on in the end game. Normally, you would have to be an archfiend, or a demon themselves would have to cross it, sort of like proximity to cause the explosions. But like I say, later in the gear, I'll show you where you don't have to worry about it. But basically, we tack on to that movement speed. Now that's where the trails grant you 20% times increased movement speed while on them. Nice for if you're going through dungeons, if you're in ruptures trying to get from one to the next, trying to get through mobs, masses, So very nice little plus to movement speed, but we're also going to tack on slow for the enemies that cross onto it, get dragged again into that sigil. They've got 75% and slow, so that helps you kill them all. Basically, it turns out to be an equal opportunity sigil in respect to, like I say, becoming a Hellfire and occult skill. Keep that in mind as well. But alongside your chaos. Dropping down here to the ultimate skills, you've got nothing. But when we go through the soul shards, this is what you're going to wind up with. Command Laalish is the one you're going to go for. A demonology skill, abyss, and a summon skill. And he is going to be your greater demon as well. Now, the beauty of this is you see the cooldown is what it is at 14 seconds. It's almost like a core skill at this point, not like a 50-second cooldown ultimate, but it's beautiful because you have a passive and an active aspect to this. Passively, he seeks out enemies and applies vulnerable and weaken and 30% slow to close enemies, and that lingers for 4 seconds. When he attacks enemies on his own, he moves around on the ground, sort of like the tendrils of the druid. But he's going to deal, in my case, 7 million plus damage when he bites him. And that's passively. A lot of times you'll throw out a Molten bomb, and he goes and attacks some little trash thing, and it's instantly vaporized. But that's the passive. Active, same sort of thing, but it is 6 seconds longer and 60 seconds, 60% on the slow, actually. He devours enemies within the terror realm, so it gives you an area of effect around everything, but 2 million plus damage every 1 second. I'll say that again. For 6 seconds, he's dealing 2 million damage every second. Definitely high damage. And for the instances of ultimates and whatnot, you won't miss an ultimate at all. I know there's some better out there, but this is a quick hit. Like I said, cooldown 14 seconds, and then he's out again. So it can help you in a lot of instances. Again, down here at the bottom, you get to gain 1 stack of Shadow Form for every 0.25 seconds you're within that area of effect. So anything you see that says, it consumes Shadow Form and whatnot, you don't have to worry about that at all. From here, let's, I guess, go into the Paragon and all of that. Here, just to show you this on this board, the basics. It's going to be kind of funny as I explain it. This is the Occult Skills Glyph, 15% times increased damage while you have any overpower. So think of that in your builds and gear selections as well. Increased to 6.3% because it's a legendary. I focused on the legendary nodes first. This one's a big one, 90% times increased damage for 20 seconds after casting a sigil. Also, greater demons now count as 10 kills when dying within the sigils, so it lessens that kill count all around. Later on in the gear, you're just going to see how this plays out. But 90% times increased damage for 20 seconds is huge because you're going to have 3 sigils. Lay one down, 90% for 20 seconds. Lay down the other one, rinse and repeat, if you see what I mean. So you're going to be a good, consistent 90% times increased damage most of the time you're out there. For the next glyph I have, it's the volatility increase here. For 15% times increase for it, additional for the legendary for the Hellfire skill damage. So adding to the theme of things, it definitely high damage outputs. Next one we will go to Overmind. That's an Abyss skill. It deals 45% times increased damage to crowd controlled enemies. Remember, Sigil of Subversion. They walk along the lava trails. They get dragged into the sigil. That's crowd control right there. You can instantly wipe them out within that sigil, as well as other crowd control effects. 65% times increased damage to elites. So very nice to have. Dropping down to the next one we've got. This is for the Wrath generation mainly. I chose this because the 50% Wrath cost. You get 10% times increased damage, and you get 25% increased Wrath regeneration for 3 seconds. You'll spend definitely 50 Wrath a lot of the time, so you will get that 25% increase to keep you in the game, much less the legendary increased damage of 6.2 at the bottom there. But this is just so you don't have to temper so many cooldowns or generation on your gear. So a very nice one to have. You can still have it on there. I might have 1 or 2 still in mind, but this definitely alleviates that aspect. Next up, we jump up here to, there we are, Demonic Spicules, Demonology skills, shred their soul. Permanently increasing damage, all damage you deal to them by 40% times, and gaining 2% per hit, up to 120% times damage. So huge in thinking of, you got molten bombs going out, they're hitting things, you're going to get the 2% just from those. So it stacks up to that 120, so very nice to get and have. Next, we've got the Demonology skills, deal 15% times increased damage. Again, legendary, gives me another 6.6 there. So very nice to have for your Demonology theme. And we come lastly, the no-brainer, Pyrosis. They deal 450% times increased damage to healthy enemies. That, along with, like I say, that 50% times on the Dread Claws, that wham bam, thank you ma'am kind of at the start, it helps you clear a lot of trash or deal heavy damage so things more easily get killed off. This part up here on this glyph is the funny part I was talking of. 10% times increased damage to elites. This one normally you would put on the first board. I could not for the life of me this season get enough of the willpower to get this on the first board. I was doing so much damage though in this build going up. My last Paragon board is where I finally put it, and it's a nice little add-on, but I wasn't missing it. So keep that in mind. This is a high damage output based on the gear and stuff like that. Speaking of which, let's go into the other aspects of this, these soul shards. Alright, here in Soul Shards, you're going to use the Mastermind Shard. Don't worry about any of the recast skills, don't have any. You are going to focus on the secondary part of this. While you have Shadow Form, Abyss skills, deal 30% times increased damage, and you gain 5% increased movement speed per stack of that Shadow Form. So like I said earlier, don't be worried about losing that one stack in the Dread Claws and whatnot. You gain it in the other talent tree there aspects, plus this soul shard, so you're gonna get enough Shadow Form. Believe me, you'll turn into the Human Torch basically because of that change in subversion to the Hellfire. But you're gonna deal 30% times increased damage. Your Abyss skills, and think of the Abyss skills normally like the Dread Claws and the Succubi for the summons as well. So high damage output increase on that, but we're going to get even better with Unfathomable Fragment. Say that 5 times fast. I'll wait. Anyways, I'm not going to wait. Laalish also weakens enemies. We already know that, but Laalish deals 100% times increased damage and executes enemies. I mean, it's like instant. When Laalish kills an enemy or when one is executed, the cooldown of command Laalish is reduced by 0.2 seconds. That's where you're going to get this reduction and reduction and reduction, where you can pull them out a lot earlier than you expect. It's generally still on that 14 seconds, but to have that much of a decrease is nice to have, rather than waiting on an ultimate cooldown. Much less, like I said, becomes more like a core skill. You can use them, get you out of tight spots, but very nice to have. Early on when you're leveling, I would say go into this, the Ritualist Shard. That's for like your occult skills, the overpower stacks that you get for that. The occult abyss skills apply 1 additional hex, so you're sort of in that lower realm aspect of things, but this is very nice because you get Summon Valak skill. He's very good because you'll see down in here, he's got volatility and hex targets. But over here, I was using this one mainly for the Fortify aspect. Early on, he will definitely help to keep you alive. So if you're in a build and your gear even gets into this sort of fortification, you might switch to this one and see some nice damage output plus survivability. But for this build that I've got, primarily it's going to be the Laalish that you're going to go for. Now this one over here is nice, you know, if more of the Legion for the demon summons and things like that. So you can use it, but I just found this a different aspect to that summoning aggrum there, as opposed to having this Laalish passive and active talent of power coming out. Basically, kind of lost my train of thought there, but this is a nice additive for the Warlock class, especially with the Sigils. Next, we'll go into the charms and see where we go from there. Okay, to start off these seals and charms, you'll see I have a 6 charm slot. This is for the Rite of the Nameless. It is a +2 ranks to Sigil of Chaos. You could have any of them. It could be ranks to Sigil of Subversion or Sigil of Summons, but any one of these 3, I like the Chaos because the volatility, high damage output. You can have hybrid builds. I started with the Dark Pact and Survival. Those were good ones initially. You can have others that are, say, if we drop down here, Rite of the Nameless, you'll see here it's got that much increase for occult skill damage, which when you change to this build, the Sigil of Subversion and Sigil of Chaos are occult still, so you would get that as well. But again, you could have another one like Change of Horizon, so you could have a good hybrid build if you don't get that 6 slot seal. But what you ultimately want is Nameless as far as the charms. To cover the ones that I have, it's +3 to the Abyss skills. Up here I got another +3 to Abyss skills. I go up and I'm here at 3 to Demonology. Now this charm up here, it's got the other 3 to Demonology, but it also gives me almost an extra power skill button right there because I can now use my healing potions and help me get out of a lot of tight fixes, but it gives me a barrier. And you'll see that come into play also with the gear, but that's a way to get extra. And the +3 to Demonology, Abyss, or Hellfire. +3 to Hellfire where we're at it, and then down for the last one, another +3 to Hellfire. So I've sort of rounded those out that, like I said, keeping the theme, keeping all 3 in activity. The big part about these is here in these sets that you get. In a 2 set, the casting a sigil skill begins the ritual for 60 seconds. It grants you 100% times damage of the sigil, which intensifies by up to 200% as the ritual nears its end. And when you complete it, it progresses it by 6 seconds. And then when it ends, the next one that you lay down unleashes the power within. And this also makes the occult skills, Subversion and Chaos, free to cast for 6 seconds. So a lot of times you won't even have cooldowns on those 2 sigils. But what it means is the accumulation of the kills, that's what you're acquiring for things like the Chaos and the Subversion and whatnot. Once you lay down that Chaos, acquire your kills, you lay it down again, bam, that's when all that builds up and comes out all at once. It's like having even another skill applied, even though you only have 3 sigils, the dread claws and the molten bomb. That's mainly what you're using. Well, now your sigils are also another damage dealer, so very nice to have. Go to the 3 set, you'll see the 20% damage reduction that intensifies with the ritual. I mean, can't get better than that. Nice progressional damage reduction. The 5 set, what you're going for, that now casts all of them at once and deals the base sigil skill damage at once. You deal 200% times increased damage to enemies and base sigil skills, and it's doubled when the power within it is unleashed. So you lay it down, you get the 200% times increased damage, and then you get the rewards at the end, and it's doubled. So huge damage output. I mean, a lot of times when this is going, you'll think it's like a Jackson Pollock painting. You can't see what's on the ground. That's where it's a lot of times risky. You don't know what you're standing in, receiving damage a lot of times. It's beautiful. It really is. But high damage output. Now, I'll show you on this if you only have, oops, there we go. If you only have the 3 set, like I said, a hybrid build, that's fine, because you're at least getting that initial damage that you see in the 2 set, plus you're getting that 20% damage reduction, and whatever you're getting from, say, the Dark Pact or the Survival. I think that even has resistances on it and stuff like that. So you can tack on that stuff, and that got me up into Paragon initially. Then I finally got the Nameless Charms and proceeded forward. But also in this, just to show you how it works, is you can do the sigils independently. So I'll come in here to the training room. The direction that you face is how the sigils will come out. So if I press the Chaos Sigil, it'll be in front of me. If I aim this direction, it's in front of me. If I aim the other, right way or left way, it'll be out in front of you that way. So it's always in front of you. And you will always get, in a 3 set, cooldown timers. Now what happened there, that's that lava trail and whatnot. But what this allows you to do is a freedom of where to put it and how to put it and what you need aspect to it. If I need the damage output, I'll throw out my chaos and get my damage started. If enemies come in, say, from my right, directionally I can throw it out that way and start getting some kills, even with the Dread Claws, and get my summons out. Another direction enemies are coming, I'll throw it out, and it's like a trap. So you can place it where you want it and how you need it, so to speak, when you only have the 3 set. It works well. I like using it that way just for that fact. But what you're ultimately going to want to do is have, obviously, the 5 set. So let me stack that back on here. They'll now lay out at once. Again, the direction you're facing and the button that you press will be in front of you. So keep in mind where you put your button mapping for each of these skills. That'll help you keep in check. I've come up this way, let's say, in the direction I lay down my chaos. They all come out at once. And with the button mapping, that's why I say it, because your Sigil of Subversion is the same color as Sigil of Chaos. So knowing your key mapping is important, but when they all lay it down like this at once, you can come up here, start your damage outputs. If you get knocked back, a lot of times you get knocked back into your own sigil, and you can still deal that damage output because enemies are dying within. Also, in the middle here, you can do your Dread Claws and get the kills in all of these sigils at once. So if I do my Dread Claws like this, you see it reaches within all the sigils. Standing in one, you can lob, and you see Molten Bomb off screen there. It's going where the demons or the enemies are. So a lot of times they are in the sigil itself. So if I just throw that out there and I'm here, it's going to throw it within that sigil if demons are in there. So you don't have to be in the summons sigil to get the kills. You could be over here lobbing into it or off of it and get the kills. Same thing with all the subversion, as you saw. Those are the lava trails that come out. When you lay them down, though, they replace each other. So I've laid them down, I've laid them down again, the new one comes out. Summons is up top. I lay them down again, now the chaos is up top. The direction that you're facing, so keep that in mind. The lava trails, you'll see, this is a nice little speed that you get from it. They are sporadic. You don't design where they go, but they can get you where you need to be. Again, depending upon what you need as far as the sigils, lay that out first. Like I always start with the chaos, and then while I'm dealing damage, if enemies are rushing towards me, I might then lay out the summons so they die within it. But like I say, you build up the sigil's power, and then the next time you unleash it, I'll do a little Dread Claws one. I have to build up something. I'm only on this one training dummy, but you'll see the cooldown's already there. Unleash it again and see that high damage is based on just using the sigil again. But like I said, it only seems like you have 3 sigils, but you get to lay them all at the same time. But it's like having another skill set, basically. As far as Laalish goes, he's usually a little purple mass that surrounds you, not those little succubi you see floating around. So I'll throw him out. You see what he does. There's old Laalish. He attacks for his high damage and has an area of effect. And anytime you come in, you'll get that with your Abyss skills. Again, usually he'll trail around you. That little purple mass you see there follows you about. Let's see if I can get him to follow me so you know what it kind of looks like. He might. There he is. So he swirls around you just like the tendrils of the druid. But then he'll come and attack on his own. I'll throw out my Molten Bomb. And there he comes. So Molten Bombs, and he'll do his passive attack, basically. When you want to do the active attack, throw him out, and then he'll come out, like I said, this big area of effect. And then you can deal high damage with your Abyss skills, or even with your Sigils as well. It's just stacking damage upon damage upon damage. Again, you see the cooldown already over. And depending upon where you're at, like I said, you're just going to keep dealing increasing damage. I don't know if you see a lot of these numbers. We'll get into the millions here. I mean, that was 4,000 million. I don't know what that's all about, but whatever. Huge damage numbers. Not quite in the trillions. I know there's better builds that probably get even higher, but like I said, this was a nice surprise when I started creating this build. But it's definitely a lot of fun. But next, let's get into what adds to everything, that pulls it all together. And that's in your gear. Okay, so here in the gear items, you're going to see in here, I got a couple of things down below as examples, but mainly starting out, what I've come to is Bridle of Torbalus. It's a mythic, very nice damage increase because you've got aspect of your brimstones, those on the lava trails, deal 260% times increased damage. And now your Molten Bomb explodes all brimstones instantly if there are at least 4 total. But enemy proximity, as I mentioned, no longer detonates them. You'd have to be an Archfiend or a demon would cross the brimstone to make them explode. Now, you don't really have to worry about them. You're still waiting for them to happen. They will happen. But your Molten Bombs will set them off. You don't even have to worry about them. You'll see it when things start vaporizing. But very nice for the aspect for this build. I put on there the Sigil duration, as you'll see. That helps them last longer, which is nice because, again, you get that 90% times increase based on laying them down for 20 seconds. And you keep laying them down, and you keep that, and the duration. You see where I'm going with it. It adds up quite nicely. Down below, you'll see I was able to get some grand gems for this, adding to the damage output. So very nice. Down to next one is just a unique. It's the Flesh-Writ Carapace. This one is mainly for this aspect. The Sigil skills deal 82% times increased damage, and active sigils gain 1 kill every second, and unused kills are saved when they expire. When the sigils expire, you keep the kill counts going. So you no longer have to worry about kill counts. That's why you can do the stronger summons, things like that. So very nice to get this level up. Obviously, these are all masterwork. General temper of the armor. Nothing spectacular about the standard stats on this thing. So the aspect itself, like I said, leads to all that you need for this build. But we're going to apply the Nagoteb runes to it. That's while you maintain an active summons. In this case, Laalish is why you see the Iron Maiden always popping off. Once you bring him out, he always is around you. You always have this counter-attacking damage from enemies, so that's nice. If you get gear that's more knockdown oriented, go for that Spirit-born concussive stomp, because that applies knockdown. There are other gear items of legendary ancestral that have aspects for knockdowns. I used those early in this build. I might even wind up going back to it because it does work very well, especially early on. But I'm up to this just for that damage reduction because I was getting higher in the echelon. I might go back, who knows, but very good. Next, like I say, just a standard gear item, ancestral of course, but you'll see the theme is still demonology, or in the hellfire or summons aspects. This imprint is the standing still. I'm at 72% times increased damage. Always want to max out if you can, but you'll stand around a lot, lobbing out your molten bombs. That'll get your wrath regeneration. You gotta move, you get to pick it back up every time you stand still. So a good additive for it. Might be some better, but it works for this. Up to the next one, we're going to go another standard. The imprint is for the damaging elite. Get you a barrier. Up high there with that 94%. That's nice. I tacked on just a temper of armor, and that's what made this gear ancestral. So I'm not turning it down. As you'll see, this with the rune as well. Igna Q for 0.3 seconds. You're going to store offerings, and then when you use a non-basic skill, hello Dreadclaws, hello Sigils, hello Laalish, you're going to unleash it. So you're not going to be too often without your bulwark popping up, which again, like I said, you have a barrier, you get increased damage. So a nice rune set for that. Here on my boots, I still think I need more speed. I'd love it. It's not as fast as, say, Spiritborn or the Whirlwind Barb. So it's still lacking, at least my build, on this respect. But distant enemies, that's the aspect I put on it, to deal increased damage to them. A lot of times, like say, you lobbing things out with molten bombs, you want this aspect to deal higher damage to those that you can't reach. But that's what your turrets are for. If we drop down to the ancestral legendary two-handed sword here, I initially had another sword, and I'm going to show that to you right here. This started with if you'll notice, a life on hit. It started at like 1400, something like that. It had some really good stats on it. I just tacked on the shadow damage for the lucky hit and whatnot. And of course the aspect of overpower for the fire skill casts to deal that much more damage. 98% I'm up to, so very nice. But that life on hit, when I masterworked it, it rose up to the 1800. Now on the gear item itself, you'll see it's at 2303 masterwork. It started at a 1800 roughly life on hit. So masterworking it up, that's why I'm getting such huge, not life on hit, but damage reduction on thing, or survivability at a lot of times. So that's huge. And if you can get some life on hit, especially in this massive quantity, very nice. You got the nice 30% all damage multiplier. I would like to diversify probably into some more the vulnerability or the crit damage as well. So, I'm kind of plateauing out in that in the higher torments. I'm on torment 8. I think I hit 9 recently, but 8's what I'm currently on because 9's a bit too much for me. But tacking on the lucky hit masterwork 84 shadow damage, not bad at all. So two-hander, not a one-hander, but high damage again. Up here to the amulet, I do have the 2 aspects on it. This is one that I had earlier. I was using another one. I'll show you that. It was the Seed of Horizon. It's nice because the demonology skills deal 0.66% times increased damage per wrath you have, and you take 0.22% reduced damage per dominance you have. Now you use wrath a lot more, so you're not getting the high damage that you would think. Oftentimes you got all the dominance, so you'd think you get a lot of that damage reduction, but you really don't. It can work in some instances, I think, but as far as this build goes, not a lot. It sort of even killed things. It was nice to progress a little bit, but I went back to, again, my amulet, which is just a standard ancestral. Had great stats on it, but it had that critical strike damage multiplier on it and the resist to all elements, and like I said, fire resist. I got a nice temper that got hit for the masterwork for max life. I was up to 78% times on dealing increased damage while I have a barrier active, so that changed the game as far as the unique previously. I was able to get a second aspect of the hexed enemies that try to attack have 45% chance to instead be knocked down. Again, that knockdown comes into play a lot of times. So if you get that on builds, you might want to keep it. It works very well. But the hexed enemies, Sigil of Subversion, even though it's a Hellfire skill, still is going to apply that hex to enemies. So you're going to get that aspect to it. Plus, not just knockdown, but slow in that specific Sigil. So very nice all around. I'm happy with this amulet. I do have a grand diamond for further resist to the elements. Down to the next is the ring. You'll see temper of hellfire damage to keep things round. Nice damage for the crit strike multipliers and such. But here you'll see the imprint of brimstones explode into lava pools that deal 336% of their damage over 5 seconds. And while you stand in the lava pools, it grants you volatility. So, Sigil of Chaos, you're within the sigil, you're getting volatility. If you have to leave for 10 seconds, you keep your volatility. If you get these lava pools from your lava trails, you get volatility. So, overall, it's the theme of it is just all around workable. I only have a royal diamond in here, so not up to par on that yet, but hey, there's even greater than grand gems now, so still, like I said, a build in progress. Lastly, we got here is the Starless Skies, popular one. On this, I did temper the sigil damage because, like I said, the sigils of Subversion and Chaos, they have their own damage output, so increase that damage by 50%. It's like having another skill set or a button to press, so to speak. As far as the aspect, spend your primary resource. It reduces the resource cost, as well as a little bit of damage increase up to 50% times. So not all bad. This combines sort of with that Paragon board with the Wrath, where you spend 50 and it does the Wrath regeneration by 25%. So tack that on with this, and it's reducing your costs. Again, keeping the tempers off your gear for other things like sigil damage here. Again, a grand gem for the resist all. As far as other gear items you can use, like I said, I touched on this one. This was just a legendary 850 item power, and this got me through, I think, up even into what at least I know 10 to 20 levels of Paragon, and it was just a standard legendary. You can do it with something like this. Like I said, that life on hit definitely helped, but over here, this is one that I had. It had some life on hit, but it was to deal the actual aspect of dealing 52% at that time, times increased damage while you have a barrier. So you could have something like that. You'll see also I had the resource generation on there as a temper. Like I said, with the Paragon Board and the Starless Skies, you can take that off of items and use other ones. As far as this is another boot that I did. I crafted this myself. I'm pretty much thinking I might be going into using this one just because the stats that are there. I just haven't yet. I just built it, but definitely not going to get rid of that one because so far that might be better for what I've got. The poison resistance that is on there on the other one, I've got a lot of poison resist, but I don't want to lose that just yet because there's a lot of poison puddles being flopped around out there. But the movement speed is one where it's like I wish I could just get that higher. You do walk around, even with this, rather slow, but even like I said, those type items are still suitable. I'm going to show you this one for this amulet. This is the one I started with, the conceited carrion chain. It was higher, and you know, the ancestral legendary aspect item power. I got a little greedy. I did like the fire damage multiplier, so look for those type things when you're getting your stats. Fire damage multiplier, shadow damage multiplier, crit damage type stuff like that. You know, diversify it out and whatnot. The imprint on here, it was to deal that barrier damage increase while you have one. The second one, I got greedy. You'll see here at the bottom, it's unmodifiable. I got greedy and tried to get something. I ran out of juice, and then I didn't have any more to even try again. And I got stuck with this all the way up into the Paragon. So it wasn't too bad. Crowd controlled while injured. I get unstoppable, but at that time, I was barely getting crowd controlled. I'm more so getting crowd controlled than I was then, but this, like I said, was a good starting gear that you can get, but look for those type stats, and then don't get greedy with your secondary aspect. Let's put it that way, because then you're stuck, like I was. As far as ultimates, this one here is huge. There is no mythic for it. There is, I believe, not even an ancestral for it. I'm going to give a nudge, nudge, wink, wink to Blizz to say if you change the overpowered Warlock class that it is now and, you know, nerf it like you're going to and always do with new classes, at least give us an ancestral unique for this item. That will help to mitigate all of that. Basically, this guy's Laalish deals 108% times damage increase. Command Laalish Terror Realm, that's that area of effect that you see, is an ultimate skill that lasts 100% longer. It's enormous. It really is. Professionally, officially becomes an ultimate skill with this at the helm. And while it is active, your Abyss skills execute enemies. So not only does Laalish do it, but then your Dreadclaws do it. I have noticed with this helm, when Laalish comes out and you come up with Dreadclaws, you and Laalish, you're melting enemies off the map, like instantly. With the Bridle of Torbolos, it's not as much. And it's weird. It's a sort of a feeling when you're playing it. I'm sure it's probably still doing the same, but you just seem to notice it, I guess, because I guess maybe it's focusing more on those brimstones. I don't know. But this is a very nice starting helm for a unique if you get it. I was well up into, I mean, almost 200 of Paragon before I got the Bridle of Torbolos. I mean, it was huge to get me forward. So definitely look for Rictus if you can get it. The other ones are just sort of in the realm if you get them. This is just a dagger, so you would need a focus to go with this, but this can help with your Dreadclaws. And additional claws fire out when you gain a stack of shadow form. So again, when you're gaining that shadow form, you're turning into the Human Torch or whatever, you're going to get an additional claw to surround you and stuff like that. So this can work, but like again, you do have to have a focus for it. Over here is another possibility, the Hellbrand Signet. This is for the Sigil or Chaos, gains the Diabolical Rebuke for free and deals 66% times increased damage. So that's nicely huge. Frees up your skill tree. You can add it to another area to increase that damage, or something else that you might want to just gain additional damage from. So, but as far as this skill goes, haven't sort of increased it to warrant it yet. I might get there, I don't know. But again, another option. Next on the options is the Fecund Seal for the ring. This is Sigil Summons, deal 136 times increased damage, and you can summon up to 2 additional lesser demons with 10 kills outside the ritual. So you only have to stay in it and to get it. Now, I've had this for a while. I haven't done it as far as my build. I'm thinking about it. Let me swap over just so you see what I'm talking about. You see, it is the toughness level of where I'm at. I do notice if I have something like this on, I'm not as tough, so I'm more squishy than normal. So that's why I'm keeping other gear items. So maybe if I can get higher stats, maybe something more of an ancestral of this. I haven't gotten it yet. Maybe that might increase the chances for my swap out. But this is another definite possibility to use. Again, the Cedar Horizon is nice. I just wasn't impressed, like I said, with that for this build, the damage per wrath that you have, because you use that more, and the dominance for the reduction. Even when I'm full on dominance, it's just not enough for a difference. It does okay, but like I said, you get up into the higher torments, you definitely notice that I need something better, and the ancestral gear's pretty much where it's at. But like I said, all these are just options for gear items, so you got plenty to choose from. Overall, like I say, this is the Sigil-Lock build. It's a lot of fun. I know there's many builds better out there, but if you just want to have fun playing, that's generally like what I like to do, just play. Again, build in progress. I don't know what the finality of my build will be as far as this season goes. I mean, I would try it even again next season, just see whatever changes come about, what we can do with it then. It's just that much fun. Like I said, most times you're out there, you're dealing so much damage, plus in the infernal hordes, hell tides, season 14, the ruptures, things like where you got even other players helping out to destroy all these ruptures. It can get so crazy, you don't even know what's going on. It is literally, I've said it before, but it's literally just like a Jackson Pollock painting. I mean, it's beautiful just seeing it all take place on your screen. I wish I had a black light or something that would show off the color spectrum of all this so very well, but it's a lot of fun. Again, high damage output. It is squishy at times. It is still a warlock. It still can be squishy, being more of a caster kind of class, but you do have minions that'll help you out. But as far as just the basic build of Molten Bombs, Tread Claws, and the Sigils plus Laalish, oh my, indeed. It puts out high damage. As far as the build goes, leave me a comment, something like that. Let me know what you think. If you got any hints or tips or things that, I could improve it, I'll listen to what you got to say, because I'm always open to that. I might have some things in this wrong. I'm no expert at this game. I just love Diablo 4. If you got the mind, check out other videos I got. I got a lot of digital artwork out there as well. I'd love you to check it out. Along with other studio art and all that stuff. But anyway, I'll ramble on about that later. But definitely appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoy this build and have fun incorporating it into maybe a build that you could take off with and see what happens. But thanks again for watching, and hope to get some more builds out for you later. Thanks. And Laalish, and everything gets executed right away. So like I said,